Hey YouTube, welcome to part 3 of the budget GS300 turbo build. Here we continue with the motor and putting it together with the transmission. Here I've got my oil line that I was building for the turbo. I did change this, it didn't stay like that with those ends. Here's what I actually ended up doing here. Here I just videotaped on the car out in the garage, but I ended up using like a 120 degree bend on the top and then a straight on the bottom and made sure there was no dips. Torque converter's on. Putting these flex plate bolts, this old hardware. Get it all mounted up, better put it together. Engine and transmission are together. Let's put a new oil filter on. Yep, all the wire connectors are on. I got a zip tie them in place because a lot of them are broken. And I gotta put the oil cooler, transcooler lines on, so I gotta mount those. It's the next big step. Start getting this thing ready to go in.
Nora, what's Daddy doing?
Had the family keeping me company as I was putting the engine in the engine bay. It is South Georgia, so there was a lot of heat, so they didn't stay out there very long. But here it is in the engine bay. Still got a mess of harness to clean up and get sorted and connected. Here's the USDM GS300 ECU with the immobilizer on the left, and then the JDM one on the right. My buddy Chris stopped by in his Mark V Supra to drop off a few tools. So here's his car.
It's a little loud.
So here I'm mocking up how the CX Racing intercooler piping is going to go to the single turbo setup and running the oil feed and return lines. And here I am working on my custom workbench of 2 trash cans in my driveway to install the Aeromotive fuel pump. In the stock GS300 housing, there's the stock fuel pump, what it looks like with the fuel pump sock. I used some E85 rated corrugated fuel return hose and a bulkhead fitting to make my little return feed, and that goes to the jet valve. And it was nice because it was heat shrinkable, and then you put a clamp on top of it, and then I sealed off the factory fuel pressure regulator. Here's the Innovate SCG1, which I was using to control the JEGS wastegate that I had on the car. It's actually a really nice unit for anything running a stock ECU and a turbo. You want to crank up the boost, or very well. And I ran this until I went eventually Haltech 2500 for standalone. But I still use the gauge actually for the wideband function because I like it so much. But if you do run the system, I would say get a humidity and moisture filter for the map sensor and make sure you mount it upright, because otherwise it is very sensitive to moisture in the air. Here's the CX Racing intercooler kit mounted up. And here I'm making
This part does
a MAF sensor housing because I was running the stock ECU. I converted the MAF to a blow-by setup. Here I have my custom bead rolling tool, which is just a wire crimper I got from Harbor Freight.
$4.
I got that trick from a Jamaican car tuner on YouTube. Here I am on my custom workbench, the ground of my garage, hacksawing so I don't wake up my neighbors or wake up my daughter. Actually, the hacksaw worked great for cutting the tubing and not marking it up as you were doing it. Lots of cuts here. That straight section right there I bought off of Amazon. Normally the mass airflow sensor would be there, but instead I wanted it after the intercooler and after the blow-off valve so I could get an accurate IAT on it, and I was running a 2-atmosphere blow-off valve, so I wanted to make sure that it was metered air before the throttle body. Here's a coil radiator that I got. It's just an OEM style replacement. I was actually kind of shocked on how thin it actually was.
You don't see every day.
For your at your work center, do you manage the people that
Here I am testing the fuel system, making sure it holds pressure, doesn't leak any fuel. And you'll see my setup that I got going on here with the hanger. Here's my first start attempt.
Oh no.
And with that, I found out that I had an oil leak, and it was coming from the VVTi oil feed adapter from PHR. You see what it looks like when that thing's leaking.
The whole thing is loose. Loose as F, man. It's like finger loose. Well, there's a problem. It's not even the sealant, but I'll go ahead and put it on there anyways. That was really loud.
So with that, I started looking at cam sensors, crank sensors, thinking maybe something was miswired. Also looked at the throttle body. Didn't seem like my pedal was even creating tension on the throttle body itself. I know it's like partially drive-by-wire, so let's see if that was working. This was my first VVTi build. I went ahead and checked the timing just to double check that it was correct.
So it's at 0. Can't really see it very well there, but it is. And perfectly timed. On the money.
It did start with some coaxing of the throttle, so I realized that it was probably a throttle body issue at that point. Whew. At this point I realized there's something that wasn't right with the throttle body. I think the previous owner of that throttle body had adjusted it. Turned out he had a throttle stop in there from drift motion. Adjusting the throttle on the fly with a small 8mm and a screwdriver, Allen driver.
I see. Probably not tight enough.
Discover many vacuum leaks and atmospheric leaks on this build when I first started it. So this is not supposed to happen. The blow-off valve should actually probably be shut. It shouldn't be venting atmosphere, just idle. So I needed to respring that to keep it closed. Finding and fixing vacuum leaks, but as it was there, it's basically running open downpipe. So here it is idling out. Obviously a car like this doesn't need to run open downpipe all the time, so I got a catback setup from Kakimoto for an Aristo. I was hoping this would fit up to the budget downpipe that I got with the exhaust manifold. Fortunately, it did not. That downpipe did need a modification. It was only probably about half an inch off, but if it had had like a flex bellow in there, it probably would have made it up fine. But a local exhaust shop had to modify that.
So the immediate muffler goes to the downpipe. The little flange for the downpipe. We'll see if it fits with this downpipe. Hopefully.
It did not. Here's the car driving down the highway with open downpipe. 5 days after I got this car running, I had to do a military move, so I went to the airport to go pick up my buddy Ash, so he can help me drive the cars up north.
What the?
What is this?
I need to open it from the inside.
Later that night, we started driving our way up north with all the vehicles. I decided to drive the GS300 that I just put together only a few days after, which is kind of crazy to think about it. We started working on it in January, and we're driving it all the way from Georgia to Northern Virginia in June. So that concludes part 3. Like, subscribe for parts 4 and 5 once they come out. Big thanks to my buddy Chris for helping me out around the house and around the car, and then huge thanks to my friend Ash for helping me move these cars all the way up north. Until next time, see you later.